2022 Nissan Rogue. Is it worth buying over a Honda CR-V or Toyota RAV4? That's what we're going to find out. Welcome to Car Corner, where we help you, the consumer, master the process of car buying and car ownership. The Nissan Rogue has long been one of the best-selling crossover SUVs in North America. But even though it's always been a popular choice, I always felt that the previous generation Rogue was just an average SUV when compared to most of its main rivals. One of the main reasons why the previous generation Rogue was so popular was because of the amazing sales incentives that were almost always available. It seemed to almost always be available with huge cash incentives and 0% financing, so it was the type of SUV that you really bought to get a really good deal on, not necessarily because it was the best SUV that you could buy. Which in a way is kind of a small sign of the type of trouble that Nissan used to be in. But most of that has now changed with the current generation Rogue, which was introduced for 2021. Nissan tried to improve the Rogue to the point where it no longer needs heavy sales incentives just to keep up with its rivals. And for 2022, Nissan has made further changes to make it even better. But is all of that really enough to make it worth it to buy a Nissan Rogue over its main rivals from brands like Honda, Toyota, Mazda, and Subaru? And is the Rogue even a good SUV to buy in terms of its design, reliability, and value for money? Well, make sure to stick around until the end of the video because that's what we're going to find out. So as mentioned, even though Nissan completely redesigned the Rogue for 2021, the company has made additional changes for 2022, the main one being the engine. Gone is the previous 2.5-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine that was used in the Rogue for a very long time. The 4-cylinder engine has been replaced by a brand new 3-cylinder turbocharged engine that's supposed to produce better power and better fuel economy too. Now it's worth mentioning that even though the turbo 3-cylinder has replaced the 4-cylinder engine in the United States, you can still get the 4-cylinder on the base models of the Rogue in Canada. Now as I mentioned, the reason why Nissan introduced this brand new engine is because it does have better numbers than the 4-cylinder. This engine produces over 200 horsepower and 225 pound-feet of torque, which is a lot more power than you get from most other comparable crossover SUVs. Really, the only engines that produce more power than the Rogue are the much more expensive optional 4-cylinder turbo engines that you get in the Mazda CX-5, the Hyundai Santa Fe, and the Ford Escape. And in addition to having those impressive power numbers, you also get much better fuel economy too. This 3-cylinder turbo is rated for between 30 and 37 miles per gallon, or between 7 to 9 liters per 100 kilometers. That's quite a bit better fuel economy than you get from most of the 4-cylinder engines and most of its main rivals too. Even though the engine in the Rogue is all new though, it continues to use the same Cvt continuously variable transmission with a choice between either front wheel or all-wheel drive. But even though this engine does sound good on paper, the reality is a little bit different. For one thing, even though this engine does produce 200 horsepower and 225 pound-feet of torque, it really doesn't feel a whole lot more powerful than the previous generation 4-cylinder. It's also a bit challenging to hit Nissan's fuel economy ratings, which seem a little bit optimistic. That's because turbocharged engines are generally only fuel efficient when you're very gentle with them. But whenever you put your foot down to get more power and you tap into that turbo, that's when they start to use more gas than you'd expect. But the real big issue with it, in my opinion, has to do with its complexity. In order to get a small 3-cylinder engine to produce these kinds of numbers, Nissan not only had to use complicated turbocharging, but direct fuel injection and variable compression technology too. Now put all of that complicated technology together and you don't exactly have the best recipe for long-term reliability. When it comes to reliability and making an engine last as long as possible, it's always best to go with a simple, naturally aspirated engine. Now it is true that other SUVs do use turbocharging and direct fuel injection as well, but what you don't get with other SUVs is a bit of an iffy reputation for reliability like you get with Nissan. And nowhere do you find a better example of that than with the Cvt transmission. Anyone who's familiar with Nissan knows that the company has long struggled with the reliability of their continuously variable transmissions. Now Nissan is far from the only company that uses Cvt transmissions, but they have been using them longer than most, and because the company has struggled with the reliability of them, they have given CVTs a bit of a bad reputation. Older Nissan models like the Murano, the Pathfinder, and the Altima have long struggled with the reliability of their CVTs. And the problem with these transmissions is that when they do fail, you can't just rebuild them like a normal transmission. You usually have to replace them with a brand new remanufactured unit from Nissan, which can cost upwards of $6,000 to $7,000. The high failure rate of the CVTs on the older Nissan models did turn off a lot of buyers, and I really can't blame them. Although admittedly the company has gotten a lot better, and the reliability of their CVTs has improved dramatically over the years. Even so, given the fact that the Rogue uses a brand new 3-cylinder turbo with a CVT, it doesn't exactly inspire a lot of confidence when it comes to long-term ownership. For example, you're not going to have to worry about expensive transmission replacement or engine issues if you go for one of the Rogue's main rivals, like say the Toyota RAV4 or the Mazda CX-5, both of which have very good reputations for reliability. Another great thing that you get with some of these other SUVs that you don't get with the Rogue is the option of a hybrid or a plug-in hybrid. Many of the Rogue's main rivals, including the Honda CR-V, the Toyota RAV4, and the Hyundai Santa Fe and Tucson, are all available with hybrid options, which makes them very attractive to buyers. As gas prices continue to go up and more consumers choose hybrids and plug-in hybrids to save money on gas, I wouldn't be surprised if many of them skip out on the Rogue for that reason alone. All of these concerns aside though, I have to admit that the Rogue is a great driving SUV. It has more than enough power for day-to-day driving, it's very quiet and comfortable, and the ride quality is very smooth as well. This is a great driving SUV and I wouldn't have any issues driving one of these every single day. And not only is it a great SUV to drive, but it also has a very comfortable and feature-packed interior too. The interior of the Rogue does have a high-quality feel with a lot of great features and technology. It comes with a very straightforward touchscreen infotainment system with a great user interface that has both Apple CarPlay and Android Auto capability. I just love that it comes with plenty of normal buttons and knobs, so it doesn't take a lot of time to figure out how everything works. You also get lots of impressive looking tech like a fully digital instrument gauge and a head-up display, which is great to have too. You also get plenty of great active safety features, including Pro Pilot Assist, which gives you semi-autonomous driving capability on the highway, which works very well too. But not only is the Rogue a very well-equipped SUV, but it's also a very practical one too. There's plenty of storage space in here and lots of room in both the front and the rear seats, and a really good-sized cargo area too. With the Rogue, you're going to have no trouble fitting all your stuff, and this makes a great family SUV. And all of this amazing technology and the space that you get is really what helps make the Rogue a very good value for what it is. The pricing for the Rogue ranges from between $28,000 to $38,000 US, or between $31,000 to $45,000 Canadian. I think with the Rogue, the best value can be found with the simple base model, which includes a lot of great features for the price, including a lot of great active safety features, and in Canada, standard heated seats and a heated steering wheel with that more durable, well-proven 4-cylinder engine. If you do want to have more features and technology though, then I think the next best value is the mid-grade SV model with the premium package. That one includes a lot of desirable features like a panoramic sunroof and power tailgate, Pro Pilot Assist, and synthetic leather seats, all for a very reasonable price. Having said all of that, I'm really not sure whether all of this is really enough to make it worth buying a Rogue over its main rivals. I mean, for roughly the same price, you could buy something like a Mazda CX-5 or even the brand new CX-50 or a Toyota RAV4, all of which have a much better reputation for long-term reliability, low repair costs, and higher resale value over time too. And in the case of some SUVs like the Honda CR-V and the Toyota RAV4, you do get the option of a much more fuel-efficient hybrid, which makes them a lot more attractive too. With most SUVs, there's always one very strong selling point, like in the case of Hyundai and Kia, the very long warranty, which gives you a lot of peace of mind. Or in the case of the Ford Escape, a hybrid or a plug-in hybrid option, which is something that most of its rivals don't have. Or like I said, in the case of Mazdas and Toyota, a very well-proven track record for strong reliability and very high resale value. But in the case of the Rogue, now that it no longer has those insane sales incentives like it had in the past, I'm not exactly sure what its standout selling feature is anymore. It is a very well-designed SUV, there's no question about it, and it does do a lot of things extremely well. But at the end of the day, I just don't see a strong reason to buy one over its competitors and gamble with that questionable reputation for reliability with that complicated brand new engine and that Cvt transmission. Who knows, everything could end up being perfectly fine, but is it really worth it to take that chance instead of taking the safe route with something else instead? I'm not really sure that it is. For me then, the Rogue really only makes sense if you're able to get a really good deal on one, especially for a 3 to 4 year lease, where the long-term reliability issues are not going to be a major concern. And if you are able to get a really good lease deal, then hey, this is a great SUV to buy over something like a Honda, Toyota, or Mazda. But if the goal is to buy a reliable SUV to last for upwards of 10 to 15 years without having to worry about expensive repairs, then the safest thing to do is just to buy one of the other options instead. So let me know what you think of the 2022 Nissan Rogue. Would you buy one over a Toyota RAV4, a Honda CR-V, or a Mazda CX-5? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. You can also take a look at some of my other videos by checking out these links over here. Make sure to follow me on TikTok and Instagram. And if you need additional car buying advice, recommendations, or help with getting a great deal on your next new car purchase, make sure to check out carhelpcanada.com. Thanks so much for watching, and see you next time.